Hear, Oh Yashar'Al, the great I am, the great spirit, is the only power for you. The great I am, the great spirit is one. Speak peace into the ears of the people so that they could see on this day of rest. Rise, Oh Yashar'Al. Welcome to Word War 3. Our reference today would be 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 9. This message is entitled Peace and Miseducated Science. Now let me begin by saying Namaste, which is a greeting in the Hindu tongue, meaning I bow to the divine in you, in Vedic literature. Yasu, which is Greek for your health. Bonjour, which is French for good day, accompanied with the falabese, which is air cheek kiss. Assalamu alaikum, which is Arabic for peace unto you. And Demilalachu, which is Amharic or Ethiopian for how are you. I like this one. Ni hao, meaning in China, meaning you good. I use that all the time. In Korea is Annyeonghaseyo, good morning or hello. Good day, mate, the Aussie salute of Australia. Uhaligani, which is Swahili for how are you. Ihai, which is, or Ihi, which is the Inuit Eskimo greeting for hi. Buenos dias, which is Spanish for good day. And salam or shalom, which is Hebrew for peace. Now these greetings are cultural instances that are trying to find the peace in you, the peace that's inside of you. Because the only way that you're going to make peace with somebody is to find out what's inside of them. All these greetings are used in this manner that they're having nothing to do with the order out of chaos principle taught to you by the Greco-Romans. So I don't want anybody coming here thinking, oh, this place or this social group is racially motivated in any way. We're not a racist group. And again, that's one of our principles, to say that at the beginning. Indigenous Hebrew Israelite awakening is not a racist religious group. We simply live here. Now, by starting off on this social science, this social order, we're going to start with Theodore Herzl. I'm going to use the diary of Theodore Herzl, who is the father of modern Zionism, or Zionism for that matter. Now, quote, however, anti-Semitism, which is a strong and unconscious force among the masses, will not harm the Jews. I consider it to be a movement useful to the Jewish character. It represents the education of a group by the masses and will perhaps lead to its being absorbed. Education is accomplished only through the hard knocks. A Darwinian mimicry will set in. The Jews will adapt themselves. They are like seals, which an act of nature cast into the water. These animals assume the appearance and habits of a fish, which they certainly are not. Once they return to dry land again and are allowed to remain there for a few generations, they will turn their fins into feet again. Unquote. This is Theodore Herzl, the father of Zionism. Now, this Zionism has been placed in the minds of a lot of people. Here in Washington, D.C., there are actually Jewish people against or protest against Zionism, whether it's political or religious Zionism, Jewish people are actually protesting against it. I just wanted to make that point clear because they are giving us a science based off of Greco-Roman techniques, order out of chaos. In the Bible, you will find 3 or more references to, you know, those Ethiops or black people being called as God's chosen. For example, beyond the river of the Volga in Russia. No, that's not heard in the Bible. Beyond the Danube, a river that's found throughout the entire German Empire. No, that river is not found in the Bible. Beyond the Loire of France. No, that river is not found in the Bible. Beyond the Elbe of Germany. No, that river is not found in the Bible. Beyond the Rhine, which runs from Switzerland to the Netherlands. No, that river is not found in the Bible. Beyond the Po, which is a river that runs in Italy, where the Catholics dwell. No, that river is not found in the Bible. Beyond the Nile. Now, the Nile, this river is found in the Bible, but no, that river is not used to identify the Hebrews. But what river is used? Beyond the rivers, plural, of Ethiopia. Now, some will say, okay, well, Ethiopia is a bordered country in East Africa. Some people will use that as the guesstimation of hope that those people are the people in question here. But it's saying beyond the rivers. So Ethiopia is a country on the river Nile. And God is not talking about the Nile River. He's talking about rivers beyond Ethiopia. And the people there, those people are called, those people that were found indigenous by this Greco-Roman chaos, order out of chaos principle, or teachers who teach that, for that matter. And again, your own ancestors, and I'm talking to you Greco-Roman theorists, and those of you who are subject to it, to the miseducation of the Department of Education, Homer, Diodorus Siculus, Thucydides, and Herodotus tell you that the gods or the angelic powers favor the Ethiops. You call blacks. Negro land. And they even say, just like the Bible says that Adam was made out of dirt, they even say, these Greeks are saying that the people are of the earth. Let's go to Frank M. Snowden Jr. He wrote the book Blacks in Antiquity, Ethiopians in the Greco-Roman Experience, a book written in 1970. Look it up. Quote, and they state that by reason of their piety towards the deity, they manifestly enjoy the favor of the gods. Now, real quick, God chose Adam out of the dirt. Then God chose Noah and the eight, including Noah, that was with him. God chose them. Then God chose Shem. Then God chose a family of Shem. Then God chose Abraham. And God chose Abraham's lineage to become the Hebrew Israelites. And those Hebrew Israelites didn't get it right, so God cursed them to be scattered across the earth. And then there was a 2-stick prophecy. The southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of Israelites would come back together again. This is where Christianity gets it wrong. Christianity thinks that they have been grafted in because the southern kingdom of Judah was looking for or giving a gospel to the world, which they were not. They were trying to find their hidden brothers, as God says in prophecy. He's going to reawaken them. I got a little sidetracked. The angels are speaking. Let me hold on. I'm getting so much right now, but let me finish this. Um, Look that book up, by the way. Samuel Birdley. Samuel Burley Robotham, who lived from 1816 to 1884. His work, The Zetetic Astronomy. Earth is not a globe. Now, he wrote this back in the 1800s. And he gives you a mathematical equation assuming a 15-mile distance, as quoted here, we get 50 squared times 8, which is 20,000 inches, or 1,666, 1,666 feet. So after 1,666 feet, you should be able to see the curvature of the earth. And with your own eyes, you can see more than 3 miles. You can be able to see more than 3 miles. At least 8 miles with the naked eye. But yet, modern science, the scientific method of Greco-Roman teachings tells you that this curvature that they're using is science. We're going to allow them to have that science. And we're going to listen to our own ancestors tell us that the earth is stationary and you experience 0 miles per hour on a stationary earth. Let them have their curvatures. Let them have their globes, for that matter. In 1885, the apocryphal books were removed from the Bible by the United States Christian deists. And they did not recognize, or they were not received by the commonwealth or common consent of those deists, these deist Christians here in America. In 1647, Westminster Anglican Church removed the apocryphal books. In 1684, the Vatican Church removed apocryphal books. Literally, the intertestamental period of Greek relations with the Jews were removed from Scripture. This Greek identity was removed. This becomes problematic when the prophet Daniel gives us a complete history of Babylon, the Persians, the Greeks, which were removed, and the Roman Empire, and then the Roman Empire, which added the clay mixture. This is a complete history. But yet, Greco-Romans removed the Greek history from the Bible, that intertestamental period that Christianity says God was silent for 400 years. God was not silent for 400 years. In fact, the Hebrews were not silent for 400 years. It's a continuous history. But yet, scriptures were removed to remove the Greek part. And instead, they give you the Greco-Roman culture, which is what America is run by today. The United States is ran by Greco-Roman law. They have given you the Greeks as the first of everything. Like Herodotus is called the father of history. Thucydides is called the father of scientific history. Hippocrates is of Kos. Remember, he's of Kos. That's an Edomite. That word goes back to the Edomites. Hippocrates of Kos. He's called the father of medicine. And so on. All these Greeks are given a priority of or a platform to be the first of everything in this order of chaos science. Now, the unspoken history, I'll give you a little bit of that. There's this guy, he's a Chinese admiral, and his name is Zheng He, who lived in 1418. And he had a map of what is called the United States, Central and South America today. This guy had a complete map of all the areas that you know of the New World. And he lived in 1418. Prior to colonial periods, prior to Columbus and his discoveries. Another untold history is Maria the Hebrew, or Miriam ha-Ibri. And she was an alchemist. And where did they find her? They didn't find her anywhere in Europe. They found her in Africa. I mean, we can go on and on about this Greco-Roman principle that's forced upon, the people you call black. The philosophical deists or deism in Christianity runs rapid throughout the earth, and their scientific method is a standard when coming to dealing with their principles. The deist is a belief in the deism, is the belief in natural religion only. Hence, deism implies infidelity or a disbelief in the divine origin of scriptures. And that's the 1828 definition, quote, that Patrick Henry, who confesses of being a deist. Now, here at Indigenous Hebrew Israelite Awakening, we subjugate, or we put humanism, atheism, foolishness, and Epicureanism underneath this form of deism, because this is what they constantly do as a teaching. And now I can remind you that Revelation chapter 7 shows that Hebrew Israelites, who were found in Africa as indigenous people, Hebrew Israelites in our culture are supposed to be identified first. And then all nations will come to trust us. Go to Joel chapter 3 verse 6, where it says that we be sold to the Grecians. Now, when has any Jewish people been sold to Grecians? Who has been sold to Grecians in all history? Now, the Grecians have taken from the ancient Hebrew Israelites, but they were never sold. I mean, you can go to Isaiah chapter 18, and he's pointing beyond the rivers of Ethiopia is where you will find the people that God has chosen. Zephaniah, from beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. Zephaniah chapter 3:10. Those daughters of the dispersed. That's who they're looking for. And Amos chapter 9. Are ye not as Ethiopians to me? Specifically describing the Hebrew Israelites looking like Ethiops. The word Ethiop is a black face. Ethiop. Beyond the rivers. That's dark Africa. And science, folks, science simply means knowledge. So my knowledge is different than yours. So don't try to put your knowledge on me. For a fine example, Miss America, her knowledge in Christianity was conflicting against some people of the the gay society, gay people, gay rights. So they wanted to strip her crown, and they forced their ideas on her. And it's a shame that, she's not gay, but the LGBT community forced their culture on her. And having nothing against the LGBT community, but you just can't force your ideas on somebody. That's the point I wanted to make with that subject there. As always, I always put, the links, the references in the link below in the subject column. Check them out. The final note will be, you black people, or those of you called black people, you guys need to make a peace treaty. Because if you're going to be ruled by this order out of chaos principle that's forced on you, they're never going to know or never going to trust the indigenous natural you, which is God-given. They're always going to rule you by their principles. And to find peace in somebody is what we discussed in the beginning of this recording. I am your conscientious objector. I am a minister of peace. And I am also a Hebrew Israelite. Hebrew Israelite out.